I just hatred,
anger,
ire, disappointment, disgust.
This is the worst slam poetry thing I've ever been to.
These are the feelings that are causing us to lose language.
Is Eric turning into Am from I Have No Mouth on a Stream? He's just like
I'm going to
Eric's turning into Kevin from The Office. Why use little word?
It's welcome to the second half of our best of the year, which is going to be the inverse of that, which isn't even going to be a top 5 maybe for some of us. I think some of us only have 1 or 2 things we were really, really disappointed in or disliked this year. Hi, I'm Erik Fedorchak, and I'm just fundamentally disappointed in a lot of things.
Yeah. Arlen Haro, and I am also just thoroughly underimpressed with 2019 in certain aspects.
I'm Hunter Davenport, and I had one thing on my disappointing list, but John bringing up in a pre-show banter that Joseph Gordon-Levitt played Cobra Commander, that's number 2.
That's your late. That's your late thing.
Oh, what have I wrought? I'm John Scott, and I've apparently disappointed this entire chat. So
yeah.
And I'm Lou Gonzalez, and I think I'm going to be the only person on here to defend and play devil's advocate. Hoo-ha!
Don't defend Joe Rise of Cobra.
It's got a great lightsaber, and you've got your head way up it.
I can't believe that same guy made The Mummy. And also, we have Connor McGraw in the chat, but he's not feeling well, so he's just here.
He's sick, boy.
Yeah, he's a ghost, a specter, a phantom.
One could say he's a ghost that has HIV.
No, stop. No.
He's the nephew of AIDS Ghost.
This is my bit. Don't step on it, please.
Yeah.
He also wants to add preemptive Game of Thrones remark.
Yeah. In case none of us weren't going to bring it up.
You know, I don't know. My list seems to be getting longer by the minute.
You just have one other thing. Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Cobra Commander. Game of Thrones.
Well, who wants to start with this?
Well,
might be a round table, or do we just want to hit the elephant in the room first?
So I think we need to discuss the elephant in the room here.
Yeah,
the one that's probably on most of our lists.
Yeah,
and it's probably not going to be one you're expecting, or maybe one you are.
It's Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rise.
I would say Star Wars in general. I think
I'm not going to go that far because we had Fallen Order and we had Mandalorian this year.
Yes,
or 2019.
I'm not in that.
I'm
Star
saying
Wars fans. Connor brings up a good point. Star Wars.
Yeah,
it needs to be a little
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Star Wars fans is definitely a addendum to the Rise of Skywalker, but
a little asterisk there. Yeah.
Who wants to start? And Lou, before we start pounding on this, I did bring up in the chat that I don't want anybody to dogpile you because I figured you would be the person defending it. And
he's our token Star Wars fan.
Wow, token. Okay.
Wow.
I mean, it could be worse.
Dogpiling you because
it could be a lot worse.
I want people to like things, and I don't think there's anything wrong if somebody enjoyed this, but for me personally, there were so many fundamental issues I had with this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Issues for me weren't prevalent until because I had seen the movie 3 times, and 2 of those were not. I kind of had to go because I had already promised people I'd go with them. So by that 3rd screening, that's when I really started to notice things.
I think so. I've only seen it once, and I saw it with people that liked the movie as well. And I think that going to a movie with people that are there to enjoy it and aren't super critics helps you enjoy stuff. And I think I also went in with very low expectations because I kind of always go on the Star Wars is for children, especially the movies.
It's
no, that's fair. That's how I went in.
Hole, but,
that's how I went in with the first screening I went to. When the first time I saw it, I was the same as you. I had a blast. I had so much fun. It was a good time. And then I saw it 2 more times. And then I got angry.
Since we're on this topic of how we felt the first time, when I went in the first time and I saw it, I came out actually not hating it. I there were things that I hated. There were things that made me very angry while I was in the theater, but I wasn't pissed off by the film at all. It was sort of a lukewarm feeling of like, wow, they really fucked that up at the end. They did not stick the landing at all.
Man, there are like a few things in this movie I really like. That the ending is near infuriating.
Mm-hmm.
Which part of the ending?
So I don't. Okay.
You can spoil. We're way past the point.
No,
You've had a month, people. Go watch the movie.
It's not that
Right.
I don't want to spoil it because we're going to spoil it during this. I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't make me sound like a dick.
Okay.
Right.
I don't think Ray earned that last name at all.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, that whole scene could have been cut from the movie and would have made the movie better. I'm not saying, and again, to be like devil's advocate, like, it's not that I think that this is the best Star Wars movie. I just don't think it's the worst.
No, it's
Would
not.
you go so far as to say it's not even the best way they could have resolved this trilogy? Would you agree with that?
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with what Connor says. This is not the people saying this is the worst one when Episode 2 exists. Boggles my mind.
There's
Episode 2 and the first one, Episode 1.
See, I went to see
Episode 1. I've knolled on. I've knolled on Episode 1's feelings for me, at least.
Well, like, to further stand on my point, like, I like Ray. I like Ray a lot. Like, I think she's a great character. I don't think anything that happened in this or any of the last two movies makes her a Skywalker.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Like I went to see this movie with my wife, and I was enjoying the first 20 minutes or so. And then there was, when they got back to the base and Poe and Finn started interacting with Rey, something felt really off. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the dialogue. I don't know if it was just their acting in general.
You know what it was for me? It was when Rose showed up and she didn't say anything.
That came a little bit.
That bothered me. Also, I do want to say Connor added here, because you can describe Episode 1 in a few sentences. Attack of the Clones is a fever-induced stream of silly shit for 2.5 hours, which she is right.
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
Eric, what were you going to say?
After that, I was like, all right, whatever. I'm adjusting from what I'll admit, I'm arguably a fanboy of Last Jedi, and I loved everything they were doing. Regardless, it then started to do something else that I thought was neat, and then something would happen that I'd be like, wait a minute, and continue that at least like 5 or 6 more times throughout the movie, and then it just started a rapid decline into, oh no, they're doing, oh no, like it.
Yeah.
The whole time near the end of the movie, I felt like I had J.J. Abrams going, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this?
Eric and me seem to have had very similar experiences, I think.
Yeah,
I think you just soured a little bit faster from the sound of it.
Yeah. See, I don't mind the nostalgia stuff because it's like...
I don't either, but it was...
the Skywalker saga, so I get it.
It was so heavy-handed. There was ways to handle nostalgia that can be done well. This was not one of them. This was trying to force 30 years of filmmaking nostalgia into a single film that did not earn any of the nostalgia they were trying to show.
Another thing about this movie that I really hate, and it's the entire movie feels like a tug of war, is like the way I describe it, because things will happen and then they'll immediately reverse it, so no one gets mad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I said, like it's not that like I love this movie, like I just don't hate it.
And that's fair.
I don't hate it either. I don't.
Fair.
I have a lot of things I dislike about it. It does feel like it's a lot of hand wringing at points.
I don't know if any of the things that started to come out that are very similar to the release, the Snyder Cut, bullshit.
No,
but even a fraction,
release the JJ cut, I heard about this.
If any of that is even true, I'm not shocked. But it all strikes me as people desperate to try and justify why this movie is the way it is. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is just terrible missteps by both Disney and J.J. Abrams.
Well, it's also because I was sitting there
Yeah.
in the movie, and at some point, I remember just sitting there listening, like, I don't want this story anymore. I mean, I had gotten, we got Fallen Order, we got Mandalorian, we've got other stories in this world that are far more interesting than what we were getting on the big screen.
I think that's
Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, go
See,
ahead.
I think that's just the problem with the Skywalker saga in general. Like, it's so long.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that this is the last one of that. So that carries a whole bunch of shit with it.
But to me, it
Right.
felt like they were trying to shoehorn that in very, very hard. Like, I feel like there were a lot of things they could have done with Luke in this movie that they didn't even need to have the Force Ghost show up and basically retroactively say, like, all the shit that I said in Last Jedi doesn't matter.
It's like he basically shows up, be like, "Yo, fuck Brian Johnson, right? This is the real Star Wars." Like,
Well, okay, so this is where we kind of have to separate, and this is gonna. I don't want to get too super filmmakery or anything like that, or English majory. This is where we have to separate the meta from what the film is actually saying.
Yes,
there are moments in this movie where it feels like it's J.J. Abrams talking directly to the screen, and trying to assure the, I would say, vocal minority that really just like hated everything about Last Jedi, trying to assure them that Star Wars is still for them.
Oh, the 45-year-old gatekeepers, yeah.
Yeah, he's really just kowtowing to that audience. But then there's stuff where you read it in the context of the movie without that sense of it's J.J. Abrams talking to the audience. And some of it, I think it still works. I actually am someone who was surprised by how much respect JJ did have for The Last Jedi, but I understand why people felt that it was disrespectful.
It is there, but the fact that he walks it back so much is what.
Yeah, and it does feel like a fuck you to the people that really like Last Jedi. A lot of it does, and I'm not into that.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think after having some time to really absorb it, and I tried not to read much about this movie. I read like maybe 3 reviews, and they were all kind of like, this isn't the strongest ending, but I was going in optimistically, and I agreed with pretty much every point they had. But then I started reading more articles from people who maybe they weren't the biggest fans of The Last Jedi, but they did just point out fundamental issues with the movie that I was like, oh yeah, and it started to really disappoint me. And I'm not trying to say like this is a terrible movie, but for what I wanted, it's not what I wanted, and I don't think it's what these actors deserve to go out on.
Yeah, no, it's not the movie that it's just not a movie that everybody wanted. Like, it's just not it. Like,
it's weird when you see interviews with the cast and they're so done with it. They want nothing to do with it. They're like,
I'm pretty sure Oscar Isaac has gone on record and saying he never wants to be in Star Wars again.
Yeah, he never wants to. I don't think he wants to work with Disney again. Is what he said.
Boyega has kind of been
I didn't hear about this.
It's sort of reading between the lines a little bit. Boyega said, "You're not going to Disney Plus me." Oscar Isaac, I can't remember what he said, but there's a clip reel of Oscar Isaac basically being like, "Yeah, fuck Disney. I wanted to explore Poe and Finn, and that's another topic."
I think the funniest quote I've seen on Twitter is, "I've never seen a heterosexual man want to be gay so bad."
Yeah. Basically.
I don't know, Lou, do you have any counterpoints to anything we brought up?
Like, I guess I'm trying to think of how to put it. The things, like, there are plenty of stuff in this movie I didn't like, which you guys didn't even bring up, which is the kiss, which I don't even understand that.
I don't.
Okay, so this is something that I wanted to let us get some more like just pure thoughts out of the way before we really go into the whole trilogy discussion. This trilogy was poorly planned. That's why I said Star Wars.
I don't think it was planned at all.
No, it wasn't planned at all.
In
part of
in
my
this
problem.
trilogy's defense, neither was the original one really, because Lucas had no idea what was going to happen with the original episode 4. Or
He only had watched that one Kurosawa film at that point.
He had like vague outlines of everything.
Well, but there was a book that came out before Empire came out, Shadow of the Mind's Eye, that Luke and Leia were like totally down to fuck. Like,
That's fucked
Yeah.
up.
They
it's
actually
very
covered
clear
that
that things changed in between films, that ideas sort of solidified after the fact, and that he didn't have everything planned out. And yeah, sure, but there was a consistent voice there in Lucas.
Yeah.
He was a part of it. And in a way that I don't think Kathy Kennedy was competent to do. And this isn't me saying Kathy Kennedy's the worst executive ever or whatever.
no.
Because
I'm not dissing Kennedy.
that's misogynistic dog whistle bullshit. Everybody who's spewing that. She's a very competent producer. We know this by looking at her entire career. Yeah, she's had some dumb decisions that she has made and that are dumb. They are admittedly dumb. But she's not a bad person. She just maybe wasn't the best person to be in charge of the Star Wars movies on that deep of a level. There maybe should have been somebody underneath her who really cared about Star Wars and
See, I don't even know if that's the case, because I feel like she did have an idea, but unfortunately nobody was listening, because I mean, the idea to give somebody who, for all intents and purposes, like Rian Johnson was not a proven commodity. Like, he had Looper and Brick was great, and God, what else is there other than those two that are actually like acclaimed Rian Johnson film?
He only
underrated. Knives Out is getting up there.
Well, but Knives Out.
There's no reason. Yeah,
Knives Out wasn't a part of this equation at that point.
It wasn't a obvious decision to pick Rian Johnson, and that's part of why I am like, I love Kathy Kennedy, because she defended him. She went up to bat for him. So I have to be like, no, she had good instincts and she did have a good direction. But I think a larger part of this is the time element of it all. Bob Iger wanted a movie by 2015, and I know that we've sort of sung his praises in the past because of his Marvel stuff, but you kind of have to look at the whole picture. And realize that he's like a lot of executives. He wanted to make his money back, and we've talked in various chats about how this is all about him building a legacy, and it's a pretty good legacy objectively from
on a different point entirely.
Point of view. But he kind of screwed Star Wars from a story and artistic point of view.
Yep.
Definitely.
And yeah, and I think that this trilogy was kind of doomed from the beginning.
In Abrams' defense, he had to take over from Colin Trevorrow. Yeah, like midway.
Well,
not through shooting, like through pre-production.
Yes, that is true. That's another part of it. Well, I think just time in general. There wasn't enough time for these movies to really breathe, and I think Rian Johnson had to make a lot of choices on the fly, having not actually seen Force Awakens before writing The Last Jedi or shooting it.
Well, he'd also... I'm sorry to interrupt. He'd also said that, like, when he didn't want to direct the 9th Star Wars film, like, he said he tried to put everything he wanted to do with the Star Wars film into Last Jedi. And he didn't want anybody else to direct his script. So I can understand how that would be difficult to an extent to follow up, but sorry, that's just a tangent that I just needed to mention.
No, that's a good point. It's good to bring that up. What was I can't even remember. I think it was just like a larger point of there was no time for these movies to be their own thing, or the movies to have the time to come up with their own ideas and to come up and to go into second, third drafts or so on and so forth. Like, I think Last Jedi is a very different movie if there's more time for that movie to come out, for that movie to go into production, before it has to go into production, and they have to make their $4 billion back. It's just a different situation if they have more time to really think it out. And if there's a I'm not going to say that The Force Awakens was a bad foundation, but it's not the best possible foundation to start on.
No.
But see, I would argue that Force Awakens and Last Jedi were actually no, they're not the best foundation. I will agree to that. I have my issues with Last Jedi. But I watched Force Awakens and Last Jedi like the 2 days before I went to see Rise of Skywalker, and I think they do a I don't want to say good enough, because they're not just good enough. Like, both of those films are enjoyable.
Yeah,
And
I
they-
really like. Force Awakens.
Yeah, I like those movies. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, as a trilogy, I don't know if there was not a backbone to it.
So
I
do want to say, before we get too lost in the weeds here, that I see glimpses of something in this trilogy. Like this, I really like Kylo Ren as a character. Like,
Yes.
I really like him. And I think there are small moments where this trilogy shines.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see where if this had a plan, this would be as good as the original trilogy for people.
Yeah.
Easily.
And I don't want to get into, well, if I had it, but there's things like not sticking to the idea of a trilogy. That I think that's one of the things that.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things, and I don't know why, it seems like it all happened in this last movie, that they didn't go to the books as some sort of a backbone, and then they shoved all that stuff in this last movie.
Well, so that's well, they wanted to acknowledge the books, but they didn't want to learn from the books. They wanted to take concepts from the books, but they didn't want to look at the shortcomings or the advantages that the books had, because those books were there were stories that went on for 10, 20 years.
Well, no, but a lot of that stuff
also
was excised. Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying you can learn from the lessons of that. You see what I'm saying? You can look at something like the Yusong Bong and say no. You can look at these things and say, okay, there's things in here that I like. My understanding is that Kylo's very drawn from the character of Jason, I think his name is.
Yeah, Jason Solo.
And there are aspects of that, but I don't know if they really took the plot parts.
They took a lot. Jason Solo's story is that he's a twin, and him and his sister are. There is not a Ben Skywalker. There is a Ben Skywalker. That's Luke's kid.
Yeah.
But like that, he falls to the Jason falls to the dark side. The Emperor is still alive. His sister and Luke go to save him. They save him, and Luke actually, I believe, falls to the dark side. And the Emperor has been cloning himself, and he's all young, and that's where we get the naked Emperor image.
Yep.
Oh, great.
So a lot of that stuff was used, but in not the best ways. Like the fact that his name
is what I'm getting at.
Makes no sense.
Wait, what was that, Lou?
Speaking of the Emperor, it's just like, who would want to fuck that guy?
Yeah,
somebody.
Well, okay, that's a problem that I have with Rise of Skywalker, is that they suggest that she fucks, and I'm sorry, she does not fuck. That's no.
I think.
Wait, who are we talking about? The Emperor, right?
Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's like,
I had a point that I want to point out, and I forgot what it was already.
Well, I'll go back to.
I'm relating Palpatine. Do it.
Yes.
Yeah. But the thing is, he laying it.
He was.
He was, but
he was still Ian McDermott.
When did he conceive that child? Before or after the scarred face? And who was the mom?
Before. He was a senator. He was the highest senator. You think, in politics,
right?
But again, it's going to the stupid prequels. That's one of the problems. Is going back to those books that were written before a lot of them were written before the prequels were made.
Right.
Now you're having to deal with the prequels, mythology in there too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, which is
that's a good point.
Which to dovetail with this, not to go off too much of a tangent, but that's the other thing that I don't understand with Rise of Skywalker, is it brought out a very weird contingent of fans that are just like, it's good because it's a Star Wars. Homeboy, no, darling, no, it's not.
It's not. No.
Something is something you like doesn't mean. I okay, just because you're a fan of something doesn't
Mhm.
mean that that thing you like can make bad thing like good.
Yeah.
Meh. I
It
can't talk.
doesn't mean that it
doesn't
can't
mean that
be
they're
bad.
yeah.
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 Mhm. It doesn't mean they're immune from criticism. They can be. It can. You can still like it. Nobody's saying you can't like the thing, but you can't just like put your fingers in your ears and just blah 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 blah. I don't hear you.
It's, Lou and I can definitely relate with this reading comics on a regular basis. Like there are definitely times that like particular books that we like for Lou, I mean, I know you're a bigger DC fan, but like X-Men is a prime example. Like there are some phenomenal runs in there and then real dog shit.
There's some bad X-Men comics.
And I have no issue with saying like, man, X-Men is terrible right now and I kind of hate it. But then there'll be something good that comes along and you can be like, oh, it's good again.
Yeah, I can say that like, and I'll do this like the DC way, like a specific example that some people liked. I did not. There's two of them is like, I did not like the Jim Gordon Batman, like as a Batman run.
Yeah, and the Snyder run.
Yeah, and I was like, which I love his entire other part of his run. I don't like that part. I think it's goofy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And and I go with like the Batgirl Burnside. Like I liked what Batgirl was with Gail Simone, and then when they changed, I was like, oh, this book's just not for me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that book. But whatever. That happens though. That happens with everything. There's always some people who are going to like something and some people who aren't. I think our issue is with people who, they want to act like because one thing was bad, it makes other things okay.
Yeah.
It's that contingent of fans that really bother me. And they've become like way too vocal for my taste.
Well, there's also like the prequels were good contingency, which I'm like, where the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you people?
Those people need. And here's the thing: we saw those people during Force Awakens. Those people existed then. The people who
they did. They just got more, even more vocal.
Yeah. People who were arguing. Well, I liked him when I was a kid. Why shouldn't I like it now? What? How does that make sense? Your tastes change as you grow up. You become older, and you look at things that you liked as a child, and you're like, no. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but most of the time it does.
You with Power Rangers.
I just lost you guys' audio for a second. What just happened?
A lot of things.
I admitted that I was a Power Rangers apologist.
Yeah,
there's a good comic book run that happened recently.
Yeah.
It's infuriating because fundamentally the prequels are not good, and it feels like a lot of the people that are coming out saying like, no, they're great since Rise of Skywalker came out are only saying it because it's the dying gasps of the Skywalker whatever nine movies you would call that. It's not the sextant, that's the six. I don't, whatever it would be, but it feels like the last gasps of dying fans saying that, and understanding that these things that they've held close to their hearts at various points are gone now. Like I'm hoping against all hope that we don't a single fucking mention of the Skywalkers going forward. Because
the Kenobi show maybe.
Well, I want Jedi, but I don't want Skywalker.
The only thing that I would be
Jedi.
The only thing
I've been tired of the Sith forever, but I'm also tired of Jedi now. Honestly,
oh, no. I think the Sith are kind of rad.
I think that's because you've been if you're only a movie person, it makes total sense why you'd be tired of both. Mm-hmm. If you play the games, if you read the comics, if you read the books, there's so many other awesome stories.
You've been saying this for a while now, and this is my problem with that. Not everybody has time for that, and that's not the primary canon. It might be canon, but it's not the primary canon.
It's not what.
And if you can't get it right in the films, I have to look at it with like a cocked eye and like, yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't. If that's what we need to do, if we need to depend on outside source material, we talked about it with Watchmen.
I understand what you're saying.
It was great because they added things on the side. It was great because we could find those things. But Watchmen was good on its own. without anything else, without any additional stuff. That show was great. And
you're right about
yeah.
that. I just like, I guess I'm not trying to say like you have to read those things. I'm saying that there are concepts and there are stories of those things that are interesting and that you would like. It's not that like, oh, you have to see these things to like them.
Yeah,
it's
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. So like, if you watch the cartoons, like I know you and Hunter have been checking them out. It's like
yeah. And admittedly, I watched all of Rebels, and I found that's the most, a Mandalorian aside, that's the most I've enjoyed Star Wars in the last.
And it's in the same time period,
years.
And it has Jedi, but it starts to go into a different area of the Jedi that's not surrounding this one group. I think it's more fatigue with this Skywalker group of characters.
And that's
here's my fatigue is. I'm tired of dark side versus light side. That's
I would even go ahead. Sorry.
I just it's been beaten, like the horse is so dead. It's like a fine pace on the floor at this point.
See, I would argue it's not even the Jedi. It's not light side versus dark side, Jedi versus Sith. It's the Skywalkers versus Palpatine's machinations. Like that was what gave me so much hope with going back to Last Jedi. Like the very end of that movie, showing that kid just pulling the broom over to him. It's like, oh, this is opening up a world of potential, that it's not just about one fucking family's magic blood. It's everyone. It's everything. And that is the direction I wish they would have gone. I know I don't want to go into what you were saying, Arlen. Like, well, if I had control of the movies, it would have been naked wampas the whole time.
It would have just been Luke milking. It's just him milking Tessa.
Well,
it's dewbacks and sand people and just screaming.
Well, to go back to what I was saying, it's like if one in Rebels, they play with that idea. I can't remember what that one creature is that they find that's a Force user, but there are stories that use that. Like my favorite, and it does tie into Skywalkers, is a Dark Horse comic called Star Wars Legacy, and it's like basically the reverse of Knights of the Old Republic, where it's like super far in the future. And there are three sides. It's this new version of the Jedi with like rebels. There's a Sith contingent, and then there is the Empire and their Imperial Knights, who are like middle Force users. They're like the Grey Knights.
Someone introduced me to 000 recently. Do you know who that is, Lou?
No.
It's basically evil C-3PO.
He's the one that's with the Dr. Aphra whatnot.
Yes.
So, yes.
So what I've realized about Star Wars is I really enjoy the seedy shit. Like,
that's what Mandalorian is good at.
Yeah.
I think that's just like, that goes without saying. I think we all enjoy when Star Wars is like just a little bit askew from what we're used to. It's the same idea as, Deadpool was fun, especially in those first 20 minutes, because it was Marvel adjacent, but it felt like it was in a different direction.
Yeah.
Goddamn Mandalorian showed R2 units with legs and arms. Fucking.
Yes, it did.
What the?
It was a fucking. It broke my mind.
I was terrified.
So what you're saying, like in that story, the comic book Legacy, like one of the cool things about it is like there is another purge of Jedi. He was a Padawan, and in order to hide himself, he does what what's his name does in Iron Fist, and he drugs himself to hide the Force abilities. Basically a space heroin addict.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Okay. So, I kind of want to wrap and transition into sort of a side tangent. That's one of my things that really got me angry. But do we have any sort of last things that we need to vent about with?
Yes. I'm with that there's not more Babu Frick things.
Yeah, I agree.
Are we talking about just wider general disappointments before we hammer down onto particular things, or are we just going to be done with
well, I have a very specific thing that is more it's It's adjacent. I have an adjacent thing
Okay.
that's on my list that I won't go to, but I don't want to. I don't want us
right.
to say that we aren't done with this conversation. Then go to
All right. Two, maybe three, if I can think of how to word it properly. But okay. One was, like Hunter said, the absolute disrespect that they showed to Kelly Marie Tran as Rose. Like that
Didn't
was
even try to hide it.
That was a calculated bullshit move. She was such a huge part of the prior movie, and then to just sideline her with less lines than it felt like
they
Babu
directly
Frick
have.
had.
There's a line. It's like, oh, you committed this, Rose? No, she wants me to stay here and do some other stuff.
Right.
And the fact that the asshole who wrote Batman versus Superman tried to say it was because Carrie Fisher died, and then pulled that back and tried to claim it was on something else. Like,
wow.
Yeah, that was his first excuse, was why she didn't have as big a role, which fuck you. Like, she was I know there's a lot of hatred for Last Jedi involved with her, because a lot of people who enjoy Star Wars apparently are racist trolls, but she was a refreshing thing to have because she wasn't part of the bigger picture initially. And she was kind of the viewer advocate in the movie because she was the one who was having a good time.
Connor adds that she didn't have a mom that had the same name as Finn, so they couldn't use her.
Fuck. Yeah. Number two was specifically that part that I brought up about Luke's Force Ghost showing up.
You mean it was the best wig in cinema history?
They could have very easily had that just be a monologue in her fucking head. They didn't have to bring Luke in. They could have had him talking to her through the Force, and just as easily gotten that information across and have it just as important.
It just exists to placate people who are mad about Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Right, and here's the thing. Suggesting that Luke changed his mind after death, I have no problem with that. It's, again, as I said, it's the meta of it all, where it feels like JJ coming out of the screen and like hugging the Star Wars fans that we talked about earlier.
Yep. The third. Oh, go ahead, Hunter. I had one more thing to bring up, but go ahead.
So I brought this up in another chat, and it's something that I this is a scene I hate, because I really enjoy Hux being a traitor and his reasoning for being a traitor. But him getting shot and then having a general look in the screen and going, well, that's that, pretty much. Like,
that was kind of bullshit. That was kind of like...
See, I liked him getting killed off that quickly, but I didn't need that line.
See, that part I don't mind. It's like, him getting killed is fine. But the audacity for a character to look in the screen and go, well, I guess we don't have to worry about that anymore, is so...
Well, there's a lot of that. There's so much of that. Where
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, Okay. I was just gonna say the fourth wall breaking in general. That's throughout the
I hate it.
That got on my nerves.
The third thing, and I think the biggest thing that, well, not the biggest thing, but one of the bigger things that really bothered me was Kylo Ren. He had such an amazing evolution and transformation emotionally and just as a character from Force Awakens to the end of Last Jedi. And then to have him within the first 15 minutes of the movie, well, going back to my helmet, going back to being this emotional asshole who is now running the Sith, for all intents and purposes. He's running the Sith fleet, whatever, the First Order, which he was completely against by the end of Last Jedi. So that was, once again, the meta of them just being like, yeah.
Do you want to know the parts about Kylo I liked? Was like the parts in like near the end of the movie where, you know, he's jumping onto the chain, he's making like the ow.
When Han shows up,
I mean, that's fun. Yeah, sure. Like
it's more like original series Star Wars. Like
some of it is very fun and it's very energetic.
Fucking shrug, come on.
But like, it's great. But like, this is a criticism that's like this is a 10-year-old criticism that I'm about to say, but it's one that was used against J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek, a movie that I enjoy. But it's a criticism that I think is even more apt now, which is that movie is not a movie. It is a series of sequences that flow together very well, and you don't realize that it's not a great film. You just enjoy the sequences and you get lost in them. That is this movie. You just get lost in the sequences. You don't actually see the larger picture as you're watching the movie.
Yeah, that's appropriate. I don't get me wrong. Like I think Ben had some great moments. Like a lot of the stuff between him and Ray was really great. The scene with him and Han I think that was perfect.
I don't like that scene at all.
Oh, see, I thought that was great. I
feel like that scene only exists because Carrie Fisher died.
Well, yeah,
it does, but they made the best of what they could do. Yeah.
To me,
there's a lot that I give them passes for just because of circumstance.
Like the one particular part that I loved about it was when Ben is like, Dad, and Han just goes, I know, which that's the way you do a callback to Empire, by having him say, I know what you're going to say. It just, there were things that worked well in the moment, but as a whole, as Arlen is saying, it's just scene to scene to scene to scene with J.J. Abrams riding on your back like Yoda saying, remember this? Remember this?
In the beginning, like that whole get the holocron thing is like, it is so...
Also, that should have been a holocron, right?
Yes.
Should have been a holocron.
It's essentially a holocron.
Just call it a holocron.
I don't know why they didn't. Everything else, like literally, like I feel like that's such a word that's embedded in everything.
It totally is.
It's a waypoint.
It's a whatever. It's a hacked holocron. Like just say that's what it is. Just say that it's a holocron that's been hacked.
Yeah.
That's another thing I want to bring up is this movie's pacing is like whiplash inducing.
Yes. Because it totally is.
That first like whole half of the movie is just, we got to get the exit goal. Let's fucking move. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, we don't want to. We could go on all night, but I don't want to. Yeah. I will end on one thing. How did the Emperor get 50 Star Destroyers? What?
That doesn't bother me at all.
No,
space magic.
No.
Again, there have
no.
It's been how many years?
No. I don't care. I do not.
Lou, it's one thing if it was like 10 or 20, but like here's the thing.
Star Wars is fantasy. And yes, people have special abilities and they have all these things. Star Wars has always established a sense of that there are rules and that the drama and what is going on in the story depends on those rules. If your entire rebellion is destroyed, you have to rebuild your rebellion. If the Empire falls apart, it has to fall apart and then it has to come back together naturally. You can't just build Star Destroyers on a planet in the middle of nothing.
Arlen, in the words of Lil Karibo, screw the rules, we have money.
Yes. Also, it's one thing if it was like 10 or 20, but like the scene happens and it's all the way back to the fucking horizon. Like,
yes.
Well, like, and again, like I know you're gonna say like, like you'd have to watch other things, but like it's in like Knights of the Old Republic. There are Sith things that have existed.
Yeah.
There are machines.
But it's like when you see it, it's ridiculous because to the average moviegoer, there's like 100,000 Star Destroyers all the way, all over the
exactly. And that's and Lou, you're right. That is my. It hasn't been established in the films, and the films up until this point have essentially allowed you to believe that this is a world that is bound by laws. This is not a world where you can just make stuff up out of nowhere. Okay, nobody has infinity gems. Nobody has the ability to just create things out of nothing, as the films have set it up, and that matters.
Thanos would hate this universe.
He would hate it. He would destroy Sheev immediately.
I don't know why, but it's so confusing to me that that's the name you referred to him as.
I refer to him Sheev because it's funny. The fact that his name is Sheev is hilarious to me. So yeah, it's a
transition.
Yeah, on that note.
Yeah, so Arlen, you had something you wanted to mention that was not tangentially, but was sidelong to this.
It's a sidelong thing, and it came. It's something that's been around for a while, and it kind of connects to The Last Jedi. So I was watching like a clip on Twitter. I don't know, maybe this was a month, maybe 2 months ago. Hunter, you probably saw this, and it was a clip from the Angry Joe review show or something on YouTube.
I already hate this.
Yeah, it was one of the things that really like ruined my day that day. And I don't know. I don't know Angry Joe from anything. I don't know who this guy is.
I've never listened to his movie reviews, but I like his game reviews.
Yeah, and he might be great. I don't know.
The fucking walking Mountain Dew can.
I'm glad Hunter's being me.
Wow.
And I'm glad that I'm being. But he goes on this rant when they're supposed to be reviewing Knives Out. Just be clear, Knives Out has nothing to do with Star Wars aside from Rian Johnson. It's its own film. It's completely disconnected. And he goes off on this like 80-second rant when they're doing like a quick review thing about how Rian Johnson should be fired and he should never work in Hollywood again. He fucked up Star Wars and I hate this movie because of that.
Walking Mountain Dew can. Told you.
And it pissed me off so much. It pissed me off so much. As someone who has a show where I review movies on a semi-weekly basis, as somebody who runs a site where people are supposed to be writing reviews, it pissed me off on a professional level. It pissed me off on multiple levels of like, fuck you, dude. And then at the end of his rant, he's like, and I know I shouldn't have said that because this is a separate movie. 4 out of 5 stars. And I was like, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You don't get to just backtrack suddenly and be like, 4 out of 5 stars. No, that's not how this works. That's not how this works.
This is like encompassing a problem with social media in general that I have, and it's starting to get worse and worse for me. Is this?
Oh well, apparently his angry review of Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker he wasn't happy with either.
No.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, all of this is just fueled by negativity. There's no.
Yeah.
If I didn't have social media, honestly, I would be less angry all the time. Like, for real.
Oh,
yeah. So I think social media it's designed to make us angry.
Yeah.
And it is. It's literally like that's one of the things. Like, it is designed to make us angry.
And I think
that's
that
like my big beef. Like, it's everyone's like, oh, fandom, like this fandom's so bad, that fandom's so bad. I'm like, no, it's not the fandoms. It's the 50 people on Twitter that you're.
It's the Angry Joe.
I mean, I agree and disagree. I think there are certain fandoms where, if you ask me, some of them are lost causes to me. Some of them are not. But that depends on what fandoms you're part of and how deep you get into them.
Well, the Angry Joes of the world are just, they make me so mad, and just I try so hard to be nice about it sometimes, and it's getting harder and harder. But it's just 2019 was just grating for that shit. It was bad.
And here's it bothered me back in 2018 and 2017 when it was them commenting under a picture of Rian Johnson's niece about how he ruined Star Wars. That pissed me off then. But that was a random person on Twitter. That was somebody who has, who's just a random. No real importance to that person necessarily, and no reason for me to really care about that person's opinion. This is somebody who I have no beef with, this Angry Joe personally, but he's a person of influence to some degree.
Well, I'm wondering if there's some sort of connection between anyone who has the name Angry in their, does this Angry Joe mention anything about Buffalo? Lights and balls or anything along those lines.
Kind of like it's water.
Like the angry video game nerd. Yeah.
The thing about Cinemassacre and like angry video game nerd is like, I don't think he even thought what he was doing was like fucked up. Like with the Ghostbusters thing that he did, it's like I think eventually he learned from that. I don't think people like Angry Joe will ever learn from this sort of vitriol. Like it's a thing where you can't converse with these people. There's no connection to be made because they won't hear it. Like all they so desperately want to be heard that they are just so dense.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that kind of the problem with like what the internet has done to fandoms in general? Like,
Yeah,
and
it's
not even
giving
fandoms,
voice
just like
to the worst of them.
Yeah.
Well,
And
like
it's one of those
15
things
years
where
ago,
Let Lou finish. Go ahead.
I was just like 15 years ago, these people like no one had these voices. They did because there's like if you go back, there's still people bitching about like what's the one I always think of? Batman. Like in '89 about like, oh, Mr. Mom is gonna be Batman.
That was yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference there, though.
They'd have to write their newspaper, and that would take a month or two, and by then the movie would be out. And
and nobody was saying Tim Burton should die. That's the difference for me.
Yeah.
They probably were. You just didn't hear about it, which is
but Lou, how many of them? Like 10? Like I'm serious. Like how many
of them now? Like
how many?
Really know.
I think it's more. I think it's more people. Well, especially if we're talking about Tim Burton, who are like, "You should quit forever."
I don't know if it's more or if they're just louder.
I know, John. I was making a joke.
Well, I think with that argument saying like how many people it was, I think it's hard to tell because now people are quick to just repost an opinion. They might not say anything about it, but you're left with the impression that that's what they believe as well, because when someone leaves something without a comment about something, just like, I'm just going to leave this here, Ryan Johnson is an asshole and his intestines should be pulled out and he should be choked with them. Like, if people are going to repost that hundreds of times, that means people are going to automatically assume someone believes that, and every time it gets reposted by somebody else, even if they don't believe it, people are going to automatically infer that, oh, well, this person believes it, so on and so on ad nauseum.
We live in a world where everyone wants to be an influencer.
Yeah.
Like that's just reality.
I don't fuck those people.
Yeah.
No.
They're the worst.
The Angry Joe ilk are the people who I was most angry about. And
everybody wants to have their dumb opinion be out there. Like they just they want people to agree with them. They want likes. They want all this shit. It's like that's all. That's what it is.
It's a dopamine kick.
Yeah. It's so much easier to say that this is the worst thing ever. It's a problem. We kind of face it ourselves with the show. It's very hard for me not to just be like, fine, I'll do the fucking every title that every fucking show has. X is the worst thing ever. The Flash was the best episode ever.
Well, it's the only way to get traction.
Not to like, yeah, I'll just do that, and we'll get 10 more views or what the fuck ever. But it will be worth it, right?
We'll talk about LXG, and that for some reason gets 4,000 views.
Right. A movie that's like middle of the road.
Caused Sean Connery to quit acting, didn't it?
But that's also the way the algorithms work, and that's the other problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, does anyone have another concrete hatred of 2019 that they wanted to bring up?
Okay.
Yeah.
Batman Hush is hilarious, though.
See.
And then the reveal happens, and you're like,
all right,
this is hilarious.
I managed to avoid this bullet. So what exactly made the adaptation of Hush so bad? That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's straight up the Riddler.
Well, Riddler in the comic was kind of the one who orchestrated it all, if I remember correctly.
But no, Eric, Hush is Riddler.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean when Barbara Gordon boned down on Bruce? Yeah.
Okay, so I have to interject here. This is a problem that those DC animated movies have had for a while. They've been doing this for a while, where they take comic book arcs and they just compress them down until they lose the importance of the individual arcs. They did this with Batman, Court of Owls, and whatever was going on in Nightwing at the time.
Oh, yeah, Batman versus Robin, or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm. And it was bad.
I'm so glad I stopped watching most of them after Batman Red Hood, because that was the last good one from what I've heard.
Some of them are really
well,
good.
That's the problem. Some of them are good. Like Thrones of Atlantis is actually like really good.
Oh, that's because you're an Aquaman stan.
I'm not even an Aquaman stan. I just recently came to like Aquaman.
Yes, those are pretty nice.
Yeah, like some of them are good. Well, I mean, and the Fatal 5 one that they did is separate because it's the Dini-verse, technically.
Yes, I like that one a lot, though.
That one was great.
The thing about Hush, though,
that
makes the special kind of bad, is the reveal that it's Riddler is so insane to me, because, like, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah, because I'm looking through like the most recent ones. So like before Hush was Fatal 5, then Reign of Superman and Death of Superman, which I thought
Fatal 5 is good.
That was really good. And then there was the Suicide Squad movie that's horrible with the bullet in the head. And then
it's Black Spider in it, and he's Spider-Man or something.
Gotham by Gaslight was good, and Batman and Harlequin was bad. Teen Titans Judas Contract was bad. Justice League Dark was good. So it's like kind of hit and miss.
Oh, what? Is that actually good? Should I watch it?
And you should read the comic book, all three of them. They did 3 different versions, and the newest
one
I'll
read that too.
I like how you said Michelangelo.
Michelangelo sounds like a really shitty beer.
Yeah. It's not even a beer. It's a wine cooler that kind of tastes like beer.
Oh, fuck.
Yes.
But yeah, trash monsters.
Hush is
Hey, we didn't say we drink it.
What else? Well, should we even talk about Game of Thrones? Because I
don't want to.
I had one other thing, and I know
I really don't want to.
Yeah, and it's so long ago. I would say I want to go to a comic book thing, which connects to the DC. Is like I'm as tired of you as you are of like Jedi and Sith. I'm kind of tired of giant crossovers in comic books.
Yeah. I've been on that train for a while now.
Yeah, Doomsday Clock. What was the other one? Heroes in Crisis. Like, I did like the X-Men one, but the X-Men are so
clear for a while though that it's a crutch at this point.
Yeah, doing them every year really hurt it. I think.
I think
and Marvel's doing one too.
Yeah,
I think they should just restrain themselves from doing it for like 10 years.
and Lou, I wouldn't really consider Hoxpox and everything going forward from that
it's
big
not
crossover, because it's
no, that's what I'm saying. It's different.
Yeah, it's curated very well, and it's with a writer.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go that far, but it's when you let someone who has long-term plans take over, because that's what Hickman's biggest strength has always been. He is a long-term planner, and he makes everything pay off in the end.
Honestly, I think like going forward, they should only really do crossovers for team books, really, because like it to me.
Well, I think the thing you're running into, John, is with any large event, they try and tie every book they possibly can into it, and a lot of it ends up being filler. Like if you just read the Jeff Johns, like the way it was originally released in the omnibuses of just Green Lantern, it's just the Green Lantern story, the Blackest Night issues that pertain to the Green Lantern story, and then continuing the Green Lantern story. It's not every fucking crossover issue, because I'm glad that you're buying omnibuses. I want more people to, so they put more out. But that Blackest Night omnibus feels like the most like, hey, we want some more money from you from DC that I've ever heard.
Well, I mean, that's
I get it.
DC's
I
whole
get it.
thing.
That's the nature of comics, because everybody freaks out that, oh, the readership is down, this, that, and the other thing.
Secret Christ.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's
you know
why
what?
it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Man, okay. I just want to talk about DC Comics for a little bit, because holy shit, what a year for DC. What a disappointing year for DC. Because Eric and I and you guys now collect Omnis. DC just cancels them, I guess, if they don't get enough order numbers.
Yeah, it's been ugly. Like, Lou, you're in the omnibus group, aren't you? Same thing with you, Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time I see them bring up something about, yeah, I'll send you.
Yeah,
an
we'll get you
invite.
in there.
Yeah, I'll talk to some of the admins I know. Yeah, every time the DC has brought up like something that's going to be of some sort of interest, like the Swamp Thing Absolute that just came out, like that got canceled and rescheduled at least 4 different times. And there's been,
I didn't even know there was one.
Wow.
Does that
Yeah,
have
the-
the Alan Moore stuff in it?
yes, it's the
Yes,
Alan
it
Moore.
is.
Yeah,
It's recolor, and
Mhm.
I really okay.
It looks great.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
catch it for this. I like the recoloring more.
The recoloring looks better. The recoloring
Yeah.
looks amazing.
For this specific book or just in general?
They what was it? The Killing Joke. They put out an absolute of. I don't
Yeah.
know why they did, because it's a really short series, but they recolored that, and the recoloring I think actually works better to an extent than that too.
I think they put it
Yeah,
out
yeah, I
because
don't agree.
the movie came out
I
at the same
think
time.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
But no, the DC has had a swath of stuff that they've just been like, hey, this is coming. No, it's not. Like Starman,
Right.
the James Robinson, which is,
Mm.
if you guys can find a way to read that, I would encourage any of you to, because it hits a lot of really great notes. Like, it's mind you, it came out in the 90s, so, but at the time it was a really great telling of like a 90s interpretation of a 50s
Well,
era
it's a really good
superhero.
Starman story.
Mhm.
Like, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And they had solicited, and then within like 2 months, they're like,
It's gone.
nah,
Yeah.
that's canceled. And
It's just like,
they don't know what they're doing. Like, they stopped putting out OHCs, oversized hardcovers, of a lot of stuff when it first comes out to 12 issues. They're going to put out trade paperbacks and then decide from there if they want to put out OHCs of stuff, which is
Well,
it's
infuriating.
and it's
Go ahead,
like
Lou.
it's not even like the people. Oh, sorry, Lou, I didn't mean to trouble you, but I just want to say
no, I was gonna say, like, that's not even like the minimum of their problems. Like DC, like, you go to their biggest book that they were pushing this like the last 2 years, and it was 2 years over in
Yeah.
Doomsday Clock,
Yep.
and like that's like one of the main guys at the company is writing that,
Mhm.
and they can't even get it done. And if you look, as much as like I used to be a Marvel guy when I was growing up as a kid, and then as I got older, I switched over to DC because I follow writers more than like
Yeah.
art or specific characters. So like what Marvel hasn't been doing anything better. They just happen to have one guy who's doing this giant thing right now, and they have other stories that have been doing great. But Hickman has been like the guy at Marvel, which has been helping. They don't really have anybody. Snyder's been kind of doing that.
That's the thing. Like, what DC has done is they've taken these people that have the potential to be as big as Hickman, or even Bendis when he was with Marvel, or like Baker. They'll take somebody like that, and then they'll just be like, well, hey, we want you to do this, and we want you to do this. Like Tom King, like, I guarantee a lot of the reason Batman, or at least not on the main Batman book anymore, is because of the shitty response to Heroes in Crisis.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, which that book just finished, but there's also rumors, and he's hinted at that he's doing a he might be working on that Adam Strange TV show, which is why he's not writing anything.
I kind of like that idea.
I like that idea, but he had a definitive plan and he had a place he was going with Batman. And I haven't read all.
No.
I just read the last issue, and it is going to continue in another book.
But that's what I mean, is that he had to finish that storyline off. He had 15 issues left that he wanted to finish.
It goes back to the fandom thing. It's like the fandom in comics is as bad as anywhere else. And I did not like where he was going, but then once we finally got to the end, I'm like, all right, I see where we're going. There was a big turning point because the wedding thing was, I think the problem, why everyone got pissed off about the Batman Catwoman wedding is because of how DC tried to publicize it, and everyone's like, well, we all know this is not fucking happening, and it's not going to last. And then did it, and then everyone's like, oh, look, no shit.
We talked about that, actually. that's our whole, big thing was well, they're just going to chicken out. That's... Yeah. It's
Yes, but so Connor just commented for the shittiest reason. But the thing is, they go back, if you continue reading the story, which it just ended, he fixes all, he not fixes, it's more like he gives better reasoning. There's a whole bunch of shit going on behind. It's the whole Batman's playing 18 steps ahead.
Yep.
And it's part of the plan.
Yeah, he's playing fourth dimensional chess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's against another Batman, so...
Oh, okay.
God.
But see, that's the thing.
No, but it works so well. You're saying, oh God, but the story, I'll just spoil it. The Flashpoint Thomas Wayne is brought over, and he basically goes, the entire story is, he's basically putting Bruce through everything to make him stop being Batman. He's like, just don't be Batman. Go take Selena and go be happy. And he's like, every single time Bruce says no, he does something else to break him more.
But see, that's what I think the issue is that Tom King had a singular and really fascinating view on what he was doing with Batman, and DC decided no. You can argue that there were a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff that we want you to go write this Adam Strange thing.
Funny.
But let him finish out what his vision was. My big argument.
Yeah, that's the problem with companies and fandoms now. There's no patience for anything to build. Yeah,
unless you're an established writer like someone like Hickman or Morrison.
It's kind of funny how this mimics the films almost, where it's oh well, this isn't working, so we need to do this. Or
which the funny thing is, you brought up Hickman before. The other thing is with Marvel, they wrote all those stories almost a year ahead of time, is what they're saying. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's why there was no delays.
Well, I don't even know if it was he wrote them a year ahead of time. I thought it was just that he had a very clear cut, this is going to lead to this, this will lead to this, and then all of these other things are going to lead into this.
He had
eventually.
That done, but he had issues straight up written in advance. So he was never, he wasn't going issue to issue.
Yeah.
He had it built up.
Okay. See, and that's where I think in some ways Marvel is better than DC about this, because as much as Marvel is using their comics as oh, that seems like a good idea for a movie, I still feel like they give their writers a little bit more faith when they have something.
It works both ways in positive. The thing is, Marvel is doing a better job of transitioning to the modern, the current modern times, where comic books aren't anything that will make money. They just won't.
Yeah.
They're just not going to make money. So they use them as a way to kind of throw ideas out there, push characters. And you see that with when they didn't own the X-Men and Fantastic Four, they made those characters appear. Now they own them again. All of a sudden you have this giant X-Men story.
Well, there's that, and there's stuff like Immortal Hulk, where they're just well, I mean,
fuck it. Just that's really a fuck it, do whatever you want. Because in many instances, it's but they have nothing to lose, those characters. And one of the problems is that Warner Brothers and DC, since they can't get anything going with these films, they can't really treat those characters like that and take the chances.
Nope.
Well, that, and they don't have a clear-cut vision on where they're going as far as we can tell at this point.
And they're prepping for another reboot, which we talked about in the last comic show, which, not reboot, but there's this rumor of this 5G thing where we're jumping to another generation of characters.
And that'll last for maybe a year or two. But I mean, my comment is more directed towards their movie side of things, is that they don't have
my favorite topic.
they don't have a clear view on where they're like, and at this point I feel like they'd be better off just continuing to do one-offs until they have something that's ironclad.
I think that's the plan. Yeah.
Well, because they didn't do what Marvel did.
They emulated what Marvel was trying to do, but they didn't learn any of the lessons Marvel did, because Marvel did how many films before Avengers? Was it like 10? 9? Something like that? Yeah.
Well, and to go again to like all the problems with Warner Brothers DC, it's like Swamp Thing was this year, and that debacle.
Yeah.
Well,
that wasn't. We don't
really don't know specifically whose fault that is, but
we know the story they told us, and like the fact that you can't trust them. That's the worst part. Like we're told this thing about how it's like taxes or something like that, and we're like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever.
Oh no, it's not. It was somebody wrote the wrong number.
Yep.
Yeah. They added a 0 or.
Well, no, it was so what I had read, and share what you had heard then, Lou, but what I had read was that with wherever they were filming, was it Georgia?
Atlanta, yes.
Atlanta. Okay, so in Georgia, they had mistakenly not realized that the money that was put off to the side was also for other things other than film and television being done there. Who's putting together?
Someone's been doing that this entire time.
Who's putting together a boat in the background? Who is assembling a warship?
It is not me.
I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody's adjusting a microphone or something. But they had originally had money that was earmarked for multiple things, not just films, and someone didn't realize that.
Yes, that's basically what it is. Like somebody told them they were going to get I think it was $40 million for the show. But what that $40 million actually was,
something like that,
was their entire yearly budget for all films for the city of Atlanta.
Yes.
What?
Yes. So DC,
it was like a rebate thing or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So basically the town for filming there, tax. It's a tax write-off, for them. It's a tax rebate. So DC is all right, we have $40 million theirs, we'll match it. I think you get as long as you match it. So the Swamp Thing they made is an $80 million TV show.
Holy shit!
Yes.
Yes.
And then when the bureaucrats came in and said, "What? No."
Yeah, I think it's $4 million they got or something like that.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
It's a whole zero difference.
That is fucking crazy.
That is why they canceled that show. And James Wan's pissed is yeah, that show looks amazing because it's an $80 million TV show.
I mean, it is a really good season of television. So.
And at this point,
it's almost like they ran the television department badly or something.
Well, you're fucking idiots.
It's almost.
But the problem is, besides Titans, the other shows on that DC app are good.
I mean, okay,
sure, but
okay.
Doom Patrol is amazing.
Harley Quinn.
Okay, one show can be good, but a department can still be run poorly.
No, not Harley Quinn almost made my list. Honestly,
right?
Yeah, Harley Quinn is good.
Lou, here's the thing: Marvel TV was badly run. It was badly run. You can like Daredevil seasons 1 through 3 all you want. That was a badly run division of Marvel.
It's crazy to me how the guy who wrote Teen Wolf and Commando made shows like Agents of the Shield and stuff like that. But how he okayed those?
Oh god, he showed up in a gi, really? Oh god.
Come on. Jeff Loeb, what are you doing?
That's not even the right nation that he's representing. Okay.
Jeff Loeb doesn't know. Jeff Loeb doesn't know these things.
All right. So to try and steer the ship back into waters that aren't filled with weeds. Does anyone have any other actual hatreds and not just abstract things that we're kind of floating around and talking about bitching?
I mean, I have a whole list here. One that I don't want to go into because I did already, and the episode was lost, unfortunately.
Hellboy.
I'm still.
So
I will.
That movie
After seeing that
pisses me
movie, I internally apologize so bad. That movie. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's such a pile of shit.
It's so bad. And I wasn't gonna bring. Oh God. Yeah, it's bad.
Now, Arlen, I'll ask you specifically.
Yeah.
Do you feel it was the failings of Neil Marshall as a director, or was it the studio fuck that movie up?
I think it's one of those all parties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thing.
I would include Mignola in that as well.
Okay.
Yep. I would include Mignola, partially because
his fingers
movies
are
and
in
comics
that.
are different things, and yeah, I think the trying to be the comic actually hurt them to the extent.
The fact is, they also started a quote unquote franchise with the final story of a character.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what
that
I
doesn't
heard.
make any sense. What are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Well,
I like Harbor. If you
just good stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Harbor and the main three have chemistry. That's something that I'll say for the movie, but it just doesn't come together. And I've said this sort of other places that there are parts of the movie that work. They just made me angry that the rest of the movie didn't. That's all.
Because it's not a movie; it's a combining of like a bunch of 15-minute TV episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bunch.
That's what it feels like.
Like I love the I love the Hellboy comic. I have like the first 5 library editions. I have all of the BPR covers. I have a bunch of the Lobster Johnson trades. I don't think trying to adapt Hellboy the comic, like trying to do a straight up adaptation of the comic,
it's not gonna work.
It doesn't because the comic is broken into.
Well, the first one did its own.
But
thing.
they took a lot of liberties though, and
they did.
I would say, and
Like
I would say that they worked.
The book is more like an anthology following a character.
It is,
and so it would work as a series.
It has a larger story that opens up as you read it, but even then, it's Hellboy as a comic is set up as vignettes. Really, like you have stuff that connects, but it's not.
It's something that slowly comes together. It's not like it's not something you can fit into an hour, like 2-hour movie. Like it's
what I would say is Hellboy would work best as like a BBC version of a TV show, like Sherlock.
like a miniseries.
Yeah, like 4 hour-and-a-half episodes.
Yes, or even go outside of Hellboy and just adapt BPRD because that is telling a concrete
that goes to the
story.
whole thing of like, why can't these companies develop stuff on like the side things? Like, why did Gotham become the piece of shit it was when it could have been like GCPD?
Yes.
Okay, there are best parts of Gotham that I think back to that make me laugh so hard.
These things
not a good checklist.
Kumba.
God damn it.
That does remind me to go back to the Star Wars game. Every time I like the name when he talks to the droid BD-1, I would just think of him as talking to BD Wong.
I had that exact same thought the other day.
I wanted to ask real quick before Arlen.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I wanted to ask: is there any point in the Deathstroke cartoon that Chiclet says somebody's pussy tastes like buttercream?
Oh god!
Because that is a callback to the. Like there is a point where he says somebody's wife tastes like buttercream. Anyways,
that's gross.
Yeah. It
okay.
is.
I think that means that she has a yeast infection.
Probably. I've been pouring heavy cream inside of.
God damn it.
Anyways, Arlen,
you know what? As sad as it is, well, what is going on with the belly? But it's still better than Batman.
We talked. Okay, we have talked about this, but it does look like not a speak and spell, a fucking
Simon?
a Simon. Yes,
Like Simon says.
Oh,
it looks
see,
like a Simon.
I feel it looks like something that you like put. I'm trying to figure out how to say
It
this.
makes him look
Like
like
a
a
pie
beer
tin?
belly.
No,
It looks-
like it looks like
Or a
something.
bunt cake.
No, he is wearing hockey pads.
He's 100% wearing hockey pads.
Next
Yeah.
on your list, Arlen, since you seem to have a lot of stuff.
So it wasn't that much. Okay, so this one is one that we've talked about before, so we don't have to go too long. Journalists asking established filmmakers about Marvel. Stop it.
I don't even think it's
just
established.
stop.
It's like elderly,
The
Yeah.
old guard. Yeah,
elderly,
it's-
curmudgeonly old guard.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
old guard is a better way to put it because I still have respect for Martin Scorsese. I
Sure.
don't have respect for the way he handled all of this
Nope.
because
Yeah.
it felt like his spokesperson, or not spokesperson, his agent kept telling him like, "No, you got to double down. You got to double
Mm-hmm.
down," and it felt like it got worse and worse the more he tried. Coppola is irrelevant at this point. Nobody cares.
Coppola is he needs to go back to his wine and
Yeah, which his wine is delicious. Stay on that.
Right.
I really like Martin Scorsese's movies, and like I enjoy. I'm sure I've seen a Francis Ford Coppola movie that I've enjoyed. I can't name one off my head right now.
you saw
Dracula.
his Dracula, yeah.
Dracula, yeah, sure. I don't care what he has to say about Iron Man. I really don't care. I don't
Yeah.
give a
Well, okay, so this is what pissed me off most, and this is why I put it back on the list. So they THR did their directors roundtable, and they record these things in like October or something. And they just put it out now because they want to put it out right before the Oscars. And Marty is on there, and they're talking about him because he had just made the comments around that time, and he says, "Yeah, I don't know Marvel from I just said superhero movies. I don't know. I don't even know what's the difference." And it just infuriated me all over again. And it also justifies something I said then, which is that he has no idea what that means, and the media spun it as he hates the MCU. And it just pissed me off.
That he's seen is like Hellboy and Venom.
I can't.
I really love the
Not
idea
even that.
that Martin
I think he saw like the plain version of Justice League.
He's always Electra.
I saw the plain version of Justice League to try to fall asleep.
Yeah, he saw Venom. He might have seen like half of Suicide Squad, and that's it. He doesn't. And then that's where I have a larger problem with people who are mutual friends of ours who are like, Martin Scorsese was right. He knows exactly what he's talking about. When he wasn't even seeing the films in question, you moron. I just it.
Well, that goes to like I actually have to now. I'm gonna make me look it up. Like people talking about the Doctor Strange thing. I'm like, all right, well, call me when they make a bad movie. It's like, oh no, they're all the same. I'm like, well, just because they look the same, you haven't said they made a bad movie.
So here's the thing. So that's an old Marvel thing, and early on, I understood. Even back in the Winter Soldier period of time, I understood that comment. I didn't agree with it, but I understood where it came from because there had been 5 movies in a row where it ended with superheroes fighting in the sky. Okay, I can see where you're putting your ideas together and what you're going from. People only remember the last 10, 20, 30 minutes of a movie. That's how our minds work. That's how they focus test movies. They change movies so that the last 10 minutes are the things that's the part that you will come out feeling. Whatever happens in the last 10 minutes. That's the intention in a lot of big action blockbuster movies. So I understand you coming out of Marvel movies and thinking that they're all the same. Then, in 2014, not now, when each movie, I would argue, goes further than the last. Every movie pushes further and it does something different, something to differentiate it from the last one. Even though I don't like this, every opening theme is different. The music switches to match the movie and to give you a sense of the feeling of what you're going to see. They're different visions, and the directors have taken much more of a front seat because they've gotten closer to the actual creative process because Kevin Feige was able to do that. He didn't have a fucking moron standing over his shoulder telling him what he could do and telling him the Mandarin can be a woman because girls won't buy that toy.
Not to slow down your momentum, like I would argue that Black Panther, which I still think is I know it's one of like my top 3 Marvel films. Like I would argue that the last half hour of that is the weakest part of the entire movie.
It is.
Everything
That
leading
and
up
the
to
lead.
that. Yeah, the last 10 minutes of that movie are phenomenal just because of Michael B. Jordan's performance and the things that he's saying. But all of the final fight stuff, like I totally forget about that. It's everything leading up to that.
They moved away from what I was talking about.
It's bad Power Rangers fan fiction. It is.
I think they stopped thinking about it as making movies in that sort of traditional way, and they just started letting things happen. If it didn't fit for what the vision was, and if it didn't work with the larger plan, they changed things. Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kevin was ever like, your movie can't be this. I don't think that happened. And I think that this whole thing of they're all the same is so silly to me at this point. I don't like Doctor Strange, but I respect the ending of that movie so much.
It feels like it's an attack, and it's the only place they can attack the MCU. Because it's
outdated.
Yeah, it's like they put together what 30 being exaggerating 30 movies in 15 years. And it just ended in the craziest thing. It's like no thing will ever be able to do what the MCU did with the Infinity Saga ever.
Ever again.
I have a real problem with people who pick apart Marvel movies by saying that, because spoilers for Endgame, Tony Stark dies, and I saw that movie 4 times. Every time I saw that movie, people were crying.
Yeah, well, because you've been with that character for 15 years.
And for me, it's like, are you fucking serious with this stupid argument? It's like, clearly people are connecting with this. Like, it's not even an argument whether or not it's cinema. Who cares? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. The word cinema anyway. Yeah.
This story worked. End discussion. It's successful. There's nothing they can say that'll take that away.
And the monetary value does not necessarily denote success for me, at least all the time. This as a story that they were telling across 20 films, 20, 30 films, 20 plus films, it worked. Yes, there were times that it stumbled. Iron Man 2, I Want My Bird.
I Want My Bird. You just started something for the rest of the show now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's only 9 movies.
Yeah.
Well, it's
over
again
a 30-year period.
The MCU has kind of a single vision controlling everything. Star Wars hasn't had a single vision since the first film. The second movie isn't written by Lucas.
Nope.
It's I just listened to a whole podcast on the woman, but she wrote the script that is the backbone of Empire.
Yeah, it's still the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah, and then she died. She handed in her first draft and died.
Oh, that's so sad.
Christ.
She had cancer, and that's her last thing. She does get writing credit on it. But yeah,
it's
from
funny
the get-go,
that
Lucas brought in other people.
It's funny that she died of cancer, and now the fans of the Star Wars universe are a cancer. So it's kind of a cyclical thing.
They also wish cancer on everyone.
Oh,
Well, this kind of diverged into another thing that I was very... So that worked out. But yeah, like I said...
I just want to say her name. Her name was Lee Brackett.
Yes. I listened to another podcast that was also about her, kind of. And yeah.
She was a huge sci-fi writer. She handed in her draft and died.
Yeah.
And then Ralph McQuarrie came in and was the next person to kind of touch it up.
Which tying real quick Star Wars back into the comic book world, how in the fuck are you going to choose the guy who wrote Batman versus Superman to help you write the new fucking Star Wars movie? How the fuck is that the right choice? You have a plethora of creative minds that have worked on films and other things for Disney that you could have chosen, and you went with that jackass.
I'll go one step further. If you want to make another movie in the vein of Argo, sure, because he hasn't done he didn't do 3 movies in a row that were Argo-like that were bad.
That is not an adaptation as well.
He did 2 giant blockbusters in a row that were terrible
and
awful films.
Argo was punched up by Ben Affleck. So
right, but you get what I'm saying, though.
I do, but
you get what I'm saying. They're different kinds of filmmaking.
I get that, but I'm saying fundamentally.
No, I'm saying that your point is correct. I'm just saying that, like, you're looking at a guy whose last 2 movies were big, giant blockbusters, and they were bad.
Yeah, well what I'm saying is, like, this is an adaptation. Like, this is not.
Yeah, well, again, I will to Mom and Dad Stop Fighting, and like, literally going back to the lead bracket thing, it's like, this is what of the other things she worked on was The Big Sleep, Rio Bravo, The Long Goodbye. Like,
sure,
why wouldn't you go and get a crushing screenwriter? Like, someone that just...
For Star Wars, of all things, too.
Yes. Also, for all those, like, shitheads on the internet, literally the best Star Wars movie, arguably, like, very hard to argue, was basically written by a woman. So go fuck yourselves.
Oh, the one that all of them argue is the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they can go all fucking... eat a dick.
Fall in a pit. Fucking get hit with a bag full of hammers. Yeah.
Go join Boba Fett and, like, the shitty character
that he is. No one's going to help you out.
There's no damn
Okay, what are we
to
talking
save
about now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We've kind of lost the track. Well, yeah, that's what I was trying to avoid.
Was there anything else on your list, Arlen, that you wanted to bring up?
This is not me trolling. Worst of the year lists. And no, to be specific, no, here's the thing. What we're doing is actual rage. Worst of the year list, the ones that I'm talking about are not, it's not actual anger. It's just people writing a list to get clicks. Yeah, it's not anything.
Clickbait is the problem.
So Screen Rant.
It's just like, these are the 10 worst movies of the year. It does nothing. Does nothing positive for film. It doesn't do anything. Because oftentimes they're not picking the movies that they actually dislike. They're picking the movies that were either the least successful or that the least people went to. Movies that might actually be good, some of them, but because they didn't do well, that means they're bad. It's the same problem I have with the Razzies, which is that it's just bottom feeding. It's not actual criticism.
It's in a way, it's pandering. Like, it's like,
and I think that's the problem is what it became. Like, the idea in the past of what the Razzies were is to make fun of the award shows, which
the Razzies started. Okay, Lou, I would agree. Started by nominating Jack Nicholson as worst actor for The Shining. So, yeah, that doesn't jive.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The first year, they nominated The Shining for just about everything, and the only one of those where I could kind of see an argument is that they nominated Shelley Duvall. I don't agree, but I could see the argument.
They're
Shelley
fucking
Duvall
wrong.
is going through PTSD while filming, so yeah.
Right. And also she's, like, dying now because of it. She's still suffering from it. So, but, like, yeah, my point is, like, the Razzies, even then, it was like, well, this is the thing that a lot of people don't like. Let's pick on that, and that's all. So it's the bottom feeding, really, that I. It's that sort of like, I'm doing this thing that everybody else is doing, and I'm just spreading it for no good reason. I'm letting everybody else think that Howard the Duck is still the worst film ever made. Yeah.
I'm looking at a list of movies that came out this year, and like I forgot some of the things that came out this year.
Yeah,
and like I feel like there is if you look through someone's like, oh, you can see where they're like, oh, like people following a trend and people setting a trend. And it's like,
my worst fear is like looking at that and like seeing like The Last Jedi or something on there. Like,
oh no,
shit out of me.
Yeah, what I'm looking at is like okay, so there's a bunch of sequels: Toy Story 4, Life of Pets 2, Aladdin, and then you get like the ones that kind of are, you get Rocket Man and stuff like that. But then there's also Lion King and Dumbo, and you have,
I forgot Dumbo was a thing.
Right.
Yes, Angry Birds 2, The Addams Family, which I forgot came out this year. Gemini Man.
They're still.
This is a weird year.
Movies?
This is a weird year. But yeah, like I just typed in worst movies that came up: Replicas, The Upside, Glass, Serenity, Wonder Park, Medea's Family Funeral.
Well, that
Trading
one.
Pete.
That one's not.
And some of those might be bad, sure, but like
Serenity is terrible.
I mean, Glass is fine. I don't hate.
We haven't seen them. Like some of these, I haven't seen Wonder Park. I'm never gonna see Wonder Park. For all I know, Wonder Park's delightful. Who cares?
Well, I would say it's like there's at least 2 movies I'm looking here that took 2 genres that have had so many problems for the last 30 years and did amazing things with them. And that's Godzilla King of Monsters and Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, Godzilla King of Monsters. Okay. Here's the thing.
But it's still like of an American.
Me and Hunter still haven't talked about that
film. Kaiju.
No, I haven't. But
is the best probably version of that.
It's so niche. It is.
It is very niche.
But and then Detective Pikachu is the greatest video game movie ever made.
Yeah, because it's.
I don't even think there's an argument.
I really enjoy that movie, and I understand people who hate it, but it's
people hate that movie.
Yeah,
I just haven't seen it. I don't. I'm of that age where I didn't really get caught by Pokemon at all. So
because you were already 45.
Yeah, you were
exactly.
You were
somehow I was older than I am now.
Lou left a number off. He must say 140.
Oh, okay.
I feel like if I really want to do a YouTube channel where I just sit Eric down and show him different Pokemon and just watch him age.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. Snorlax is my spirit animal.
Yeah,
I was
gonna say I'm sorry, I missed one of the live action Disney remakes, which is Aladdin. So we had
you mentioned it briefly.
Yeah.
Aladdin, Lion King, and Dumbo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of movies that came out this year that were crazy that they ever exist. That happens. That happens every year, though. There are always movies that are insane that they even came out.
Yeah, but I kind of see what Lou is saying, because these only exist because of how well a live action Beauty and the Beast did.
Yeah,
sure.
And it feels disingenuous for Disney to be let's take an animated classic and make it live action.
Which it's they're the 6th and 7th and 8th versions of that, because there was Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast,
Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 Maleficent movies, because wasn't there a second one that came out this year?
Yes, that came out this year.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. But that's Maleficent's different because it's taking an established villain and turning them into an anti-hero.
I don't know. I still really like that idea of them taking villains and making movies out of them. But they'll never.
Well, they tried to do it with what do you call it? Snow White.
Yeah.
Years ago, and it was fucking terrible.
It fizzled out.
God, which one was that?
That was
the one with what's her name from Twilight, which I'm sorry for saying that's the movie.
Oh, Snow White and the Huntsman? That's
that's the first one, and then they did Huntsman.
Yeah, the Huntsman.
They did 2 of them.
Okay. Okay.
I think if we talk about live action Disney remakes, we'll just be stuck in from loop of hate. So
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think. So unless somebody else had another.
No, because we kind of turned a whole episode out of something that was just supposed to be part of our top 5 year. So so I guess with that, unless anybody has any closing remarks they want to make on the
I just want to say, I just want to say, fuck EA. Fuck EA.
EA, I think, is going to go through that weird thing where they have a bunch of stuff that people really love, and then they're going to get rid of their CEO, and
they're going to do the Ubisoft thing where they release good games again, and no one will care.
Like Dead Space and all that. Yeah.
Well, no, don't even.
I'm just saying that's the type of cycle they're in right now.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. They shot and killed Visceral. They're gonna kill BioWare.
That's so terrible. Then all hope of a Knights of the Old Republic thing will just go away.
I would not. Okay.
Apparently, the best way to do that is to play the Knights of the Old Republic online because
It Respawn. Respawn is now the Star Wars studio now. They're gonna have
to grind them to a nub.
Yep.
Yeah.
So enjoy these Star Wars games while they last.
Yeah. It's Lou. The Knights of the Old Republic online game apparently is at a point where if you just want to play,
it's good.
Apparently there's actually a strong single player storyline.
Yep.
Like that you can just play through and be done with it and not have to fuck around with a bunch of people online.
I mean, the multiplayer stuff is really cool too, but like if you want to do this,
take your word for it.
Well, it's fun to do with friends, but the single player stuff is really good. Yeah, Eric, friends.
What are these friends that you?
Yeah. You're talking about people who actually can stay up past 9 o'clock. What?
It's 12:13. I'm still awake, bitch.
Yeah, well, who said we were friends, bitch? Anyways, on that note, I guess we're done with our spewing out venom. Oh no, go ahead. What?
No, I just had one final thought, which is for those who think that we specifically are hypocrites for putting this episode out.
Fuck you.
This is not supposed to be what our show is. We try to avoid this whenever we can. Does anybody disagree with that? Do we actively seek out this kind of rage and anger?
I think the only time we really do this is on After Darks when we're talking about something. But
I also only This is the only time I'm gonna bring this up, and sometimes on social media I say things that may be inflammatory. I'm just kidding.
Sometimes you say them on the show,
yeah.
And then we dine out on them years.
See, the problem is Hunter suffers from altitude sickness at all times.
Yeah, I get a little busy and then I say things. Okay.
Sometimes Hunter steals ideas from other people and then reposts them and then becomes internet famous.
Sometimes
he makes the same joke a year apart.
Hunter, did you pimp the podcast in that thread of your?
No, I didn't.
No, he pimped his SoundCloud.
Yeah, I did. I have a rap album coming.
God.
Yeah,
it's as good as.
But anyways, we try to avoid just venting like this, and if we do, we usually have a legitimate reason.
Yeah, so, we're not people who actively seek things we dislike. In fact, some of us don't even I'll watch if something's bad and I think it's hilarious. I'll watch it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I know Eric doesn't really have the stomach for things that are really bad.
Well, Eric has very little time left on this earth.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. I thought you were going to say
he has to consume
time. I was going to add answer. So yeah.
But when I vented about MoviePass, they had fucked me out of $20.
Yeah.
I forgot that not even existed.
Yeah, you could have bought Legion season 3 with that $20.
I could have bought Legion. I could have bought a lot of things with that money, including my rent that month. So there was just when we vent about these things, it's usually because it's earned. And we do not make a habit of being the Angry Joe show guy for the possibility of somebody who's like, these people are hypocrites.
If I ever become that guy, I want you to shoot me, okay?
We're usually not the angry nerd type.
No.
Generally no.
Diarrhea balls.
Yeah. And I just want to say I'm proud of us for that. That's really what I was getting to. Patting us on the back for not usually being those people. We try to go for conversation that is somewhat peaceful, or not peaceful, thoughtful, I guess.
Level-headed.
Sometimes we
exaggerate for the purpose of entertainment.
Yeah, sometimes my persona gets a little much. So
sometimes some of us on this show really hit a nerve that they're hitting, and then it turns into a great hour of podcast.
Hola, senor.
Sometimes some of us accidentally create a character on the show that may involve a dead relative.
Again, twice.
Sometimes two people will argue that goblins are actually Mexicans.
Yeah.
The thing that I'd like to just bring up in final point is that if you legitimately enjoyed Rise of, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I didn't want that particular thing that we discussed to be like, well, this movie's terrible and you're bad for liking it. If you enjoyed it, awesome. Right. I'm so glad that it ended the way you wanted it to, and it did the things you wanted it to do and enjoyed it. Just, I also want to let people know that, like, we were bringing up fundamental issues we had with really gotten to talk about them on air. So if it seems like a lot of hate, sorry, we've just all been kind of holding it in.
I mean, if you like the prequels, you're stupid. Like, that's what I call it.
Right. Yeah.
There's no argument there.
If you like the prequels, cool, good for you. Taste is somewhat subjective. I'm not going to necessarily agree with your taste in things going forward if you talk about how any of the prequel masterpieces best things ever, but cool, good for you.
You have the word masterpiece leave your mouth. We're not friends. We're not even acquaintances. It's I want people to like things, and I want people to be rewarded for liking things, but I also want people to be able to turn a critical eye on things and not just be like, well, this is good because the other things in the series were good. That does not mean something is good inherently.
No, that's not even a valid criticism, I think.
Yeah. Inherent value doesn't exist. Not really.
Exactly. Especially within film.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, yes, we were like, this is our things we hate episode kind of a thing, but, like, in the long run, I feel when we said, we spend more time on things we like, but, like, you can be critical and criticize something without being, like, hating on it. And I think we were critical on things without being, like, insanely, like, we're not just being like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, fuck this thing.
Well, honestly, I'm glad that we did with a separate episode, because on the top fives in the past, we kind of do get a little bit shouty and terse because we're trying to get out of there. The show's going.
Well, we're all punch drunk at that point.
It's like 4 hours long.
Yeah,
but this was a very, like, thoughtful conversation, and I appreciated that. So,
anyone have anything else to add? Did we lose John somewhere along the way?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, he went to bed.
Oh, okay.
He was a good soldier.
Okay. Yeah, we'll celebrate his name.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess on that note, we can close this episode out. I've been Erik Fedorchak. You can find me at Erik_Fedor on Instagram. There's pictures of dogs and cats and foods and comics and things of that ilk. I'm also floating around the Phantom Zone. I can talk to you about comics that I really enjoy, and hopefully you will too. But if you don't, I get it. Taste is subjective, but you're wrong. Outside of that, I guess I'm done.
Yeah. Lost Horror Podcast coming back February, somewhere around there. I think February 1st. Whatever the first Friday.
Oh, that's almost my birthday.
So look forward to that. We're gonna, spoilers, but we're gonna be doing a decade look back that I may have already recorded. So, look forward to that. Look forward to guest appearances.
Are you a timer minute?
The time
maybe. Look forward to potential guest appearances by people who are on the show right now. People who have been on the show. We might be talking about a certain blue-haired hedgehog type fellow at some point.
Nope. Never seeing that movie until it's on something that I'm renting.
Which is funny because I like the podcast the guy who wrote that movie does.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Every time they open that, like, why does he continue to put that into their intro?
It's really weird. But that's coming back soon. Stuff's going on, so look forward to that. And I don't know. Monster Mash lives, I guess.
Okay. I do want to address Monster Mash really quick, because the reason it's not happening right now is because I'm currently in a situation where my free time during the week is becoming increasingly scarce.
Scarce?
Yeah.
Scarce.
Scarce.
I'm stupid. Leave me alone.
He's from the northern states. Give him a
So-
break.
He's from the way north.
They
He's
are
from
too.
the-
I'm
He's
just
from
stupid.
beyond the
Can't
wall.
Yeah, they're from here too. I'm just idiot. So it's gonna come back hopefully this year.
Well, the year just started, so I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyways, I guess I've been hunted down for it. I think. Don't follow me on social media, please, for the love of God. What else? I'm still working on the Shut-ins, our YouTube channel. Me and my buddy Andrew did a YouTube channel called the Shut-ins. It kind of went on hiatus because of various life things, but it's coming back soon. We still gotta work out recording dates and stuff like that. So look out for that. Other than that, I got nothing.
All right, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so Smallville Chronicles, almost done with season 5. Check that out. The comic show every week. We just had the newest episode. We finished Crisis on Infinite Earths. I believe we are going to be reading. Oh my god, I just lost it in my head. The Big Venom book from the 90s.
Oh my god, really?
Oh,
my.
Maximum Carnage?
No, the one in San Francisco that they based a shitty movie
Yeah,
on.
the Lethal Protector.
Lethal Protector,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It's only 6 issues, so I believe that is what we're going to do. Yeah, and check it out. We went off on kind of some of the big news stories this week, talking about the Harley Quinn cartoon, a whole bunch of stuff. And you can check out all my awesome shitty photoshops at young_Kami
they're great.
on Instagram or at Hunty is Dead on Twitter.
Yes.
I love this so much.
I think that segues into one little thing. If you are an artist, and you are interested in doing art for the Phantom Zone, let us know. You never know. Somebody might respond.
Yeah,
because we are looking.
All 4 of you listen.
Yes, all 4 of you. That includes you,
I
Leo.
checked. There was like tens of views on YouTube.
Yeah, we're
Very good.
huge in
Yes.
South America.
Most of them Indian.
Oh, like Mr. Big. Okay.
Wait, are we really big in India?
Mr. Big.
I'm
yeah,
just assuming that that's part of it.
Yeah, quick side story before we close out completely. Yeah, the Mr. Big comment being big in South America. Henry Rollins was talking in one of his spoken word things, which is a weird thing to say because it's very 90s. But regardless, he was talking about how Rollins Band playing a show in South America. I forget exactly where, but they were opening for Mr. Big, and he talked about how they played their heart out, and he injured totally into the show. And the audience was kind of like, whatever. And then he said when they announced Mr. Big was coming on, it sounded like the jungle around them was ready to fall down because the audience was losing their mind. Mr. Big was coming to the stage.
I feel like, did
Wow.
he talk about this when he did Rogan a long time ago?
Maybe. I
Probably
don't
did.
listen to Rogan, but yeah, he probably
Yeah, I
did.
feel like I've heard the story and they got like really high, talked about it.
Oh, really? Henry Rollins did? That's odd.
Oh, his best, he has one of the best This Is Not Happening episodes on YouTube where he talks about the first time he did, like, I think he did LSD with a woman he didn't know.
Okay, because yeah,
When he was like 18.
Okay. Oh, this was when he was younger. Because yeah, I mean, he was straight edge for the longest time, so that's odd. Anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed our vital-filled episode, and you know, it's okay to love things, but it's also okay to dislike things. Just need to know how to actually approach them in a mature and respectful way.
Yeah,
Good
and
night,
if you like the things I dislike, fuck you.
There we go. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.